again, with FICO SBSS. The higher the score, it obviously indicates the lower the risk. Now, pre-screening means SBA Section 7A loans. And if you have no idea what Section 7A loans, PPP loans. Those were Section 7A loans that 90% of us got, right? Or at least the majority of us got. Those were Section 7A loans. So the minimum SBSS scores for a Section 7A loan, 155. For a Community Vantage score, 140. And for an Express Bridge Loan Pilots program, 130, which is typically for newer businesses. Now, with these programs right here, we're going to break them down. I'm not sure if in week 3 or in week 4, right? Because I still have more ground to cover. But those are typically the 3 main SBA loans, the programs that are going to be taking a look at or going to really take heed to the FICO SBSS score. So this is one that, again, you want to pay attention to. Remember, they're pulling to merge. They're pulling your personal payments, and they're also pulling your business payments, and then they're putting that score together. Now, pro tip, if your score falls below the required threshold, it doesn't necessarily mean that your application can't be approved. From here, they're just going to take a look at your application on a manual approval. So for those of us that maybe don't have the strongest SBSS score, but let's say our business has been in business for about 4 years, all the data points that we just finished covering are on point. We have a pretty strong personal credit, but our business credit isn't up to par, and we have some cash flow. Remember, these are all different factors that they throw into the equation when they're pre-qualifying you. But it's like a two-way street. If you don't have a lot of cash flow, I'm going to strongly recommend that you start building up your personal and your business credit scores, and you build them up fast, because that's going to make up a lot of ground for you where you lack the capital. A lot of us that have maybe a bit more capital, there's a little bit of wiggle room because you can always throw a little bit of cash to some of the problems and make them go away. Now, what makes up the FICO SBSS score? You guys thought I was going to get away from this, but I wasn't. What makes up the FICO SBSS score? The score is calculated on a blend, like I mentioned earlier. So this is your personal and your business credit, along with your financial information. This is why, again, I'm going back to it. You want to take screenshots whenever you're posting an application. If you're an Excel gal or an Excel guy, you want to have maybe a Google Doc or an Excel spreadsheet of what you're placing on each application for the amount that you're putting on the revenue of the business, on your total household income, the years that you've been in business. I like to take screenshots, and as I'm filling out each application for myself, and I always tell my clients, take screenshots of applications and then just put them like into a little file. So if I was doing a funding, let's say if I was going through a funding sequence, and for, let's say, April, right? I'm ready to go. I've been in the garden for some time. Okay, April's my month. My inquiries are off. I'm ready to go. Okay, let's start this funding sequence. Boom, I'm going to fill out the applications. I'm going to submit them, or if I go in person, I'm going to make copies of that, and I'm going to throw that into a little folder, and I'm going to put the month on it. Hey, funding sequence for the month of April. I don't know if you've ever done it like that, Rad, but I find that really helpful when we set it up that way.
Super helpful. Super helpful.
Yeah, no, it's definitely super helpful, especially as you're setting yourself up, because I like to work in 60 to 90 day sequences when you're doing your funding, because it lets your credit breathe a little bit. Now, consumer and credit reports, they're going to take a look at up to 5 owners. So this is why it's important to know all the owners that are listed on there. So if you say, hey, it's me and 3 partners, everyone's credit is getting pulled up. It's going to be one commercial credit report, but everyone's consumer credit report is getting mashed up into that score. So if you're maybe thinking, I think that there may be someone that I may need to take off of the LLC so that we can get some of this funding, that may need to be a conversation that needs to happen if, again, they're not doing anything to really work toward building out their personal credit and their business credit, which is, again, the common theme tonight. I want you guys to have both, not just one. Business and financial information stated on loan applications. So as soon as that application gets submitted, and by the way, this isn't for SBA. I'm referring to just general loan applications, personal and business. All of that gets thrown into that FICO SBSS database. And so that's why those averages that were maybe thrown out last year, that maybe you submitted or somebody submitted for you, if you don't know that, those are numbers that you want to know, because as you're submitting new applications for a new funding round, if there's a big discrepancy in numbers, or if there's a big discrepancy in the type of business that you were doing versus what you're doing now, that can throw everything off. Now, one last thing that I wanted to say here is that you want to build up each of these scores, specifically SBSS score, before you need it, because it does take some time. for this stuff to start reporting. Businesses are not covered by the Fair Credit Reporting Act protections. So this means that if you are denied due to you having maybe a low FICO SBSS score, lenders aren't required to tell you, and you're also not entitled to getting access to that score. I mean, what I would make sure that we're all on board, right? So it's for the greater purpose, which means our business needs to progress, and so it's a business decision. We're still gonna have a barbecue on the weekends. We're still gonna hang out, right? Whatever that may be. I'm still gonna come see you for your birthday, but our business needs to go forward, similar to when a CEO knows to step down or knows when to hand it off, right? Hey, I no longer want to be CEO. That position is now yours. I'm not going to be on the back end more, maybe as an operator or just completely out of the business. That conversation needs to happen here in this case and say, hey, dude, this is the logic. These are our credit reports. This is where you're at. This is where I'm at. I don't mind personally guaranteeing on behalf of our business, but the only way that that happens is if we remove you off of, or at least we drop your percentage from maybe 25% of on the operating agreement down to maybe 20% or below, like 15%, right? So that way we don't have to put that person on the applications versus if you're 50-50 at that point, we got to put you on. Because remember, when you're filling out a business credit application, it's asking for all partners above 25%.
That's good, bro.
Yeah.
That's really good, because a lot of people may not even think about that when it comes to funding, because they may just be like, hey, listen, we can use our credits together, but not realizing that it's almost like buying a home. One person can bring it completely down.
Bingo.
And so it's just like, this is a big deal, especially when you're dealing with, you know, percentages of the business and things like that. So you got to be very mindful when you're doing a joint partnership or you're bringing a credit partner into your LLC, specifically joint ventures and things like that. You have to be very careful about that, because this right here could slow the whole thing down. Okay. So audit your business for sure. Know that, and just be able to have those tough conversations, because if you don't, you're going to have a tough conversation later. And I just want to bring that up because I just knew that you were super tactic. You're very good with your words, bro. I'm not as smooth with my tongue as you are as far as the words go, bro. So I just wanted your insight and how you would handle that at a, you know, a CEO level.
I mean, you definitely got it, bro. I mean, you're good with your words. Don't say that to me, bro. Come on now, making me feel bad. Business credit scores is super important. So quick recap on this: Dun & Bradstreet payday score 1 to 100. Target is at least an 80. Experian Tele score 1 to 100. Target 75 plus. Equifax score 3 to 580. At least a 490 on that. And again, I know that there's a couple different scores out there, but I'm going based off of the ones that you guys are going to see on your NAV reports, right? FICO SBSS 1 to 300, Target 140 plus. Obviously, I'm giving you guys baselines, not end all. So I don't want it to be lower than this. And then credit safe, Target 71 plus. Now, some simple credit monitoring is Credit Signal with Dun & Bradstreet, of course. You have NAV, and that's going to be specifically with the business loan builder. I think it's like either 49 or 59 bucks. But the reason why you want to get that, you're going to get a twofer, meaning a 2-for-1. You're going to get it reporting across all the bureaus, right? And you're also going to get yourself, and when I say all bureaus, Dun & Bradstreet, Equifax, Experian. So let me backtrack that, right? That's important for you to know. And you're also going to get the FICO SBSS score unlocked, so you can keep a track on that, especially as we start inching our way into more of SBA type of products. Tilful is cool. They have their own little score going on. Think of it kind of like the Vantage score for Credit Karma, but I throw them in there because I'm gonna give you guys that option as well that we're gonna use to build up some of our credit. But it's also a nice place for you to put some alerts on there. The more, yes, we want to have the source of where our reporting is coming from, but the more alerts that I can have on my credit to make sure that everything is matching across the board, the better it's going to be. So that way I know, okay, if Tilful gave me an alert that my, let's say, Experian score was pulled when I applied for, let's say, a business credit card, but let's say NAV gave me an alert that FICO SBSS pulled it. Now I have a few different metrics that I can look at, a few data points. So that way I'm not sidetracked with anything. Because remember, you're not getting alerted the same way that you are when you apply for a Chase business credit card or Chase, let's say, Freedom card, and then you get that letter in the mail 7, 10, 15 days later, letting you know why you got denied. That's why I want you guys to set these things up. Now, before I give the next slide, Rad, because usually when this happens, there is an explosion in the room. And by explosion, I mean, I had those cards and they've never reported there. I get it. I have some of these cards too, and they don't report there either. I'm just going off of the majority data points that I've been able to capture, from the bankers that I've been able to speak to, from some of the clients that I've kind of been able to survey, from some of the forums that I've been in. So I'm giving you just raw data points of the majority, right? Sometimes the majority is not the end all rule, but in this case, I'm going to sway toward the majority of where these cards are going to report based off of the surveys and the data that I've been able to capture. So with that said, here we go. Issuer, American Express, Small Business Financial Exchange is where they typically report. From there, it funnels over into Dun & Bradstreet. Sometimes it indirectly reports over to Dun & Bradstreet. But if you notice, I don't have Dun & Bradstreet on here because remember what I said earlier on in the call. Dun & Bradstreet is vendor accounts. These are financial accounts, which is why it's Experian, Equifax, Small Business Financial Exchange as a furnishing company, not as a bureau. Again, clear distinction there. Remember, they're a trade association. Bank of America, Small Business Financial Exchange, where the data furnishes, and then from there it flows. Capital One, Experian, and Capital One, Experian, Small Business Financial Exchange. Chase, across the board. And again, you guys open for discussion, by the way. Let me know in the chats if you have any. And by the way, these are business cards. These are for the business side. So if you guys have business credit cards already with any of these companies, let me know in the chats because we can continue to add to the survey, right? And continue to rack up some data points. Let me know, hey, well, I have a Capital One and it actually did report over to my Experian business, not personal, over to my Experian business. I actually did see that report. Chase is going to be Experian, Equifax, Small Business Financial Exchange. Citi, Experian, Equifax, Small SBFE. Discover, it's Experian and Equifax. PNC, it is Experian, Small Business Financial Exchange, and then Wells Fargo, Experian and Small Business Financial Exchange. Remember, this is for the business side, not for the personal side. So as you're kind of running through these, but I wanted to take it one step further. Business credit cards that do not report to your personal credit. And then I also have some of them on there that do. Screenshot time. Check this out. So